All right, it's UFC 294. Every time we talk about the biggest events, I bring my cuz Day on. You already know, got my guy here. All right, let's get right to it. But before anything, you already know it's your boy Jayo Sto, and y'all are tuning into Jayo Sto Sports. Before the actual big fights, I want to talk about Israel Adesanya. He mentioned that he's going to step away from fighting for a significant amount of time. Do you see this as a smart decision on his behalf?
Um, Perhaps it could be a smart decision. I don't know. He's 34 years old now, so I don't know how long of a break he could really take. He's fought for a long time. I've watched his whole career, and so where he's come from since about like 2019, it's actually crazy. I even seen Volkanovski saying that he could just retire right now and he'll still be considered one of the greats. But
Mm,
I think some time off could serve him well. He's been very, very active. Him and Usman, very active champions,
yeah.
and I respect that about them. So maybe at 34 years old, a break could might do him some harm, but he could tighten up some things and just clear his head after the loss to Sean Strickland and come back better.
Oh, that was I still can't get over this guy not. That reminded me of when he fought Yoel Romero. But the only thing was, Strickland was fighting back.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe what he was doing in the cage.
I honestly, what's crazy is I was walking around and I was thinking before we filmed the last Adesanya video, I was thinking to myself like, perhaps Strickland can win this because they both have a style of like they'll both go to like a 5 round decision, just striking at each other on the outside. And Strickland likes to play that game, and Izzy played it. And after he got dropped in the first round, I think he was done for the rest of the fight.
You think that when he comes back, he gets a title fight right away, or maybe he gets a tune-up first?
Uh, I think because Dana came out and said that Usman and Hamza is the number one contender fight, so they're going to fight Sean Strickland next.
Mm.
So maybe in like a year and a half, depending on how long Izzy wants to take a break, he might come back. But I don't know if they'll throw him because if he's not going to get an immediate title shot after you're losing, right? I don't see him taking all that time off and coming right back to a title fight. I think maybe he'll fight like his return fight could be like DDP, or it all depends on what happens this weekend because that's interesting adding Usman and Hamza into the mix at 185, especially since they really don't have any ranking at that division, especially Usman.
Yeah, and you're talking about these guys being up there in age. Usman is 36, even older than Izzy. And he's coming off two straight losses to Leon, one by knockout, one by decision. If he suffers his third straight loss, do you think it's time for him to call it a career?
Uh it's strange because it's not like he's losing to bums, but I don't think Usman will be one of those guys that we see just slowly fall off into the prelims. I think if he loses this weekend, maybe he'll do one more fight just to have a retirement fight, or he'll just call it quits.
He's not gonna
Because at
move
this
like
point,
Tony Ferguson.
yeah, I don't see him being a Tony Ferguson. He's talked about how bad his knees are before,
Mm,
and this move is like a end of the road move. You know what I mean? Because there's really no losses in this situation. If he beats Hamza, he's fighting someone that he already beat before at 170. Him and Strickland fought in the past, and he beat Sean Strickland before. So I think now, especially since Izzy is out of the picture for now, it makes the most sense for Usman to move up and try and get the second belt.
yeah, because the two Niger mans, they didn't really want to fight each other. Well, I feel like Usman kind of wanted to fight Izzy a little more than Izzy wanted to fight Usman. But I
Yeah,
definitely feel like that because Izzy's the bigger guy. So why should he even be talking like that? You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But with
And
yeah, go on.
sometimes Usman, sometimes it's like
He be
Usman
feeling
just says
himself too
split.
much. He be
Yeah,
feeling
yeah.
himself too
Sometimes he
much.
just says. I seen him on Joe Rogan, and he's talking about if he didn't lose to Leon, he would have went up and fought Jan for the 205 belt, and then came back down and tried to get
Yeah.
the 185 belt,
He be
and then
wilding.
defend that 170 against Hamza. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's just some fluff for the Joe Rogan podcast. I don't think
Nah,
believe
he be
this.
talking that for foolishness. Cause I remember he was on like I Am Athlete podcast or the Pivot, one of them, and he was just chatting bare foolery. I was just like, nah, I'm not even watching this. I don't even watch these guys to begin with. And I heard that. But yeah, this fight, Usman and Hamzat, like the streets been talking, man, and these welterweights, these middleweights, they're ducking Hamzat. But there's certain type of guys that are not afraid of him. Like we've seen Leon agree to fight him. Kevin Hollins fought him. He did lose. Usman is about to fight him now. I'm telling you, Black men are scared of Hamza. And if you look at his last fight, like there was some holes shown in that fight. What
Yeah.
do you see as the weaknesses of Hamza in the cage?
Um, I think Hamza from the Gilbert Burns fight, he kind of has this bum rush style that works against like lower level competition where he's just gonna come at you fast, pause at the very beginning of the fight. That's what he did to Kevin Holland. Even though it low-key looked like Holland was going for a glove touch, and he just went straight in for the takedown and just
I didn't
rushed him.
rate that.
Yeah, and people aren't going to talk about that. Same thing with Bo Nickel. In Bo Nickel's last fight, he hit or in his fight against Jamie Pickett 2 fights ago, he hit the dude with a groin shot and then went for the takedown off of the groin shot. But
There's no
anyways,
love. There's no love in this game, man. Sometimes
yeah,
you have to be smart too, right?
yeah. And then so with Hamza, I don't think Usman's going to gas out. He has a gas tank. And if he tries to rush Usman too quick, I think he could risk gassing out, and Usman could knock him out. I I think Hamzat's weakness is just his love for the war. You even seen the Gilbert Burns fight where he's kind of just throwing himself into there, and then his coach is yelling at him like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, to relax.
Snapping.
And then the third round he came out and he picked his shots more, and that's when he really showed his skill. So if he stays composed and picks apart Usman, I think he could. I think he could finish him.
You think, oh wow, okay. So I'm again like we've been doing way too much agreeing, and bro, we're about to get canceled. All these wrong predictions. It's not happening this episode.
Yeah, it's not happening that episode.
I'm rolling with Usman just because former champ, and you have to take this in. They have that mutual opponent who we just spoke about, Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns got
Mhm.
stopped by Usman, and Hamzat had trouble with him. I think this is the best fighter that Hamzat's ever gonna fight, and Usman has fought for the titles before. He's been the champion. I think this is like this is perfect timing for Usman. When people think he's fallen off, he fights Hamzat. Everybody is scared of this guy. I think he could win a decision. I'm gonna be totally honest, and that's just what former champs do. They fight the best opponents. If they can't fight for the title, they fight the number one contender or the scariest guy in the division. And yeah, I'm rolling with the Nigerian Nightmare on this, man.
I was thinking about this, and honestly, especially after seeing that video of there was a video of
Benin?
the open workout. Yeah, I seen Chael Sonnen come out and he's like, no, he obviously says I heard with my iPhone. He says no, it's good. And then I seen Justin Gaethje coming out, and I seen Usman bashing them, and if you
I,
he clearly says something. He clearly says popped.
yeah,
So and Usman's known to have bad knees. So if
yeah,
Usman's going in there with bad knees and with that whole situation saying it's popped, it could be a risky fight. But also Usman has had knee problems for a long time.
for
So
sure.
in training, there's probably been times where that's happened, and he just has to chill out. He knows his body, and coming in on short notice, I think it would be kind of crazy for him to blow his knee out like that at an open workout, because they also did end the workout right after that, right?
Yeah.
As soon as that takedown happened, he said something. I think he said no, it popped, and Gaethje looked worried, and I think that's why they got up and ended the workout right after that. So
But again,
I
yeah, he did drop a video saying, "Oh, whoever put that out, that was clickbait, that's cap."
yeah,
At
yeah,
the end of the day, he has to say that.
yeah,
Regardless,
facts.
regardless if something happened or something didn't happen, regardless, he has to say that because it's not like they're fighting in the States where you could just fly to another state real quick, get your replacement. Like he's the
Yeah,
replacement. And
yeah,
if he can't fight, bro, Abu Dhabi's all like way far out. Like that's the other side of the
yeah,
world type thing, you know? So it's not
yeah.
like nobody's gonna fight Hamza. Hamza hasn't fought in how long, right? He needs this fight. I don't know if they have another replacement, but I highly doubt it.
With and also with these guys, like he's a fighter. You know, before this Paulo Costa, he was hiding his the fact he got elbow surgery. It was actually someone that was outside of his camp that leaked he got surgery, and he decided to come out and speak on it. So if that doesn't happen, Paulo Costa could potentially still be fighting with that infection, that bacteria in his elbow. So Usman, I think to go that far with everything that he's gone through, I think he's gonna bet on himself and just say, you know, let's just go out there and make it happen, regardless of if the knee is messed up. You know, he's been having bad knees, so he knows that this is the end of the road. So I think he'll I think he'll go out there regardless of injury or not. He's gonna try and go out there and make something happen. This is a win-win situation. It's a
Oh,
win-win situation for him and Volk. There's no like you're coming in on short notice, you're moving up a division, and there's a title shot within reach. There's like, how could you say no to that? You know, and especially against the guy who's very unproven. Because yeah, Hamza looks like a beast, but at his best, the best person he's fought was Gilbert Burns.
and
You
Burns
know, so
has
we the
and Burns has fought at 155 before.
yeah,
So yeah. Yeah, usually in these type of situations, it's like challengers coming in on short notice. Like this is like legit champions coming on short notice. You don't see this. So that's why this card is super stacked. You mentioned Volk. Who do you think's taking more of a risk in this short notice fight? You think it's Volk or do you go with Usman?
I think it's Volk because with how close their first fight is to come in and get your rematch on short notice. And Volkanovski also had surgery on his arm
Mhm.
after the Yair Rodriguez fight, not even 2 months ago. And if you go on his Instagram, you could see his elbow in the cast like a month ago. You know, and if he comes in, gets take like, accepts the rematch on a with no camp, knowing that he could have won, that he could win this fight, he's not gonna have the time to bulk up like he did last time. It's really just like a, a risky situation to take your rematch going up because I don't see Volk getting a rematch at 155 without like anytime soon if he loses this fight. And Volk is getting pretty old now,
No, he
you
can't.
know?
He can't. The only way they could fight again is if Volk wins this and then the trilogy. There's no
Yeah.
way if he loses twice. Nah, that's a wrap. But do you think that Volk won that first one? I had it as a draw. Who do you like? Do you respect the judges? You think Islam won?
Yeah, yeah. I think Islam won. I think if you because Islam I
It's up
think
to
sometimes people he's a beast and I think sometimes people can they don't
people
like they don't
discredit
realize his
people discredit grapplers, bro. At the end of the day, that's just how
yeah,
it goes.
yeah. And I think because that's the best someone's looked against Islam. Sometimes people kind of like when they're
Critique.
watching the fight, their emotions and their bias, and they might be
Yeah,
betting. You know what I mean? So
of
it's just like
course.
there's a lot of biases. And when you rewatch the fight and you
Mm.
go according to the actual scoring criteria, that's something I urge a lot of people to do. When you look at the actual scoring criteria, it changes your take on a lot of these fights because and how judges score fights. Don't get me wrong, they're still robberies, but sometimes people can view a fight through like a very old lens. Even now, a lot of times you see the wrestlers like DC on commentary. They'll think because someone got a takedown that they won the round. It's like, bro, it's not 2012 anymore. You know what I mean? MMA doesn't work like that. You actually have like do damage now. You know?
Yo, as everyone roasted DC, a lot of double champ.
DC's
Nah,
the legend.
nah, big ups to DC, still holding it down. Yeah, but if Volk wins, do you see like where do you see him headed next? Do you see a BMF title with Gaethje? Does he fight Topuria next? Does he give Islam the trilogy fight? What do you think his next move is if he wins?
Um, I think he'll go back to 145 because he said he wants to fight in January, regardless of anything. So I think he's been talking about in interviews he wants to defend both belts and keep both divisions active.
Mm,
That's something that double champs from before didn't really do. And for example, when Connor was double champ, he held on to those belts forever and never defended one of them. When DC became double champ, he vacated one of them pretty quick, and then he fought Stipe like 3 times in a row. They held up that division for so long,
mm.
and rightfully so because the division was kind of weak at that point. But Volkanovski, I think he'll go back to 145 and keep the division active, defend against Topuria. And if he doesn't take too much damage in this fight, I seen there's rumors of Topuria versus Holloway for an interim belt in January if Volkanovski can't make that date.
Yeah.
And I don't really Max Holloway is my favorite fighter. I have a
Kind of
painting
falling
of
off
him.
to me.
I don't see I just don't think he'll beat Volkanovski.
He
I don't
doesn't,
want
he
to see
doesn't,
another fight between him and
yeah.
Volkanovski.
That's gonna be the fourth fight, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Then he did.
I don't really want to see that unless he went out there and knocks out Topuria, deals with Topuria like
Yeah.
how he knocked out Korean Zombie, or how Volkanovski pieced up Yair. Unless he goes out and gets a solid finish, I don't really want to see a fight between him and Volk. I would kind of want to see Volk vacate the belt if he wins the belt at 155. I would want to see him vacate at 145. If
I'm not I'm
and
not
if
a I'm not a fan of people fighting four times and one person hasn't won any of the three previous fights, or see people
Yeah,
fight a trilogy and one person hasn't even won one of those fights. I'm like, doesn't make
yeah,
sense. I don't care how
because
good the fight is. If you're zero wins against that certain somebody, nah, man, it
and
doesn't.
Max is younger than him. So
True.
it almost feels like it would get to a point where Volk is kind of getting up there in age and he'll throw salt on the win. Because like no matter what, like Max can't get that fight back. There's what are these guys gonna do? Fight 7 times?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to see who could win the trilogy, I'd rather just see Volk vacate the 145 belt if he wins 155. Because there's also a lot of interesting fights at 155 for him. Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler, Connor. I think Volk can
Good.
a lot. There's a lot of winnable matchups for Volk at 155 in my opinion.
I look again. I'm rolling with Islam. Khabib's about to be in the corner this time. He has the home crowd behind him. Hasbullah's out there holding his belt. Like everything,
Azbula.
all signs are showing me that Islam is gonna take this. I actually think he could win via submission. Again, if
Mhm.
Islam when Islam wins this, I think he fights for, say, a BMF, or I see like I don't really think it makes sense to have a BMF because I don't know. I just thought that should have just been a one and
It's
done
so
type.
gimmicky.
I thought it should have
It
just been
was
a one
cool
and
for the
done type
moment.
thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was cool for the moment, and then when they
Yeah.
dragged it, it was just like, what's the point? You guys just want to. Sometimes you could tell the UFC is just thirsty to throw a belt at a fight.
Trust me. Yeah, no, there's no need for it to like still be going on. But yeah, when Islam wins, I think him and Gaethje, I think that's a good scrap. Again, like I was surprised that I had Dustin gonna win that fight, but Gaethje, you can't count that man out, and you can't count him out even against Islam because you have to take it in. Islam, this is gonna be a second straight fight against Volk, right? So he hasn't really fought much guys as of late that are in his division. So that's why I think when he wins this, he should fight right away and go at Gaethje. I think that's the best challenge for him right now after
Yeah,
this weekend. Just makes way too much sense. Um, last one, Johnny Walker is fighting Ankalaev.
Ankalaev. Yeah, Ankalaev.
Ankalaev, yeah. Who do you have in that fight? Who do you have winning
I
that one?
think I think I think Johnny Walker could get it done.
Yeah.
Um, I think Johnny Walker could finish him.
Yeah.
I Johnny Walker has knockout power, and he's a very interesting fighter. And after now that he's training with Coach Kavanaugh, Connor's coach, he looks a lot better. His game looks a lot cleaner, and it looks like more of a plan. It's not just go out there and try to do something flashy to get a knockout. Like you can't do that at the highest level
Mhm.
forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and I think at the higher weight classes, people figure that out real quick. You'll see like a Derek Lewis or an Ngannou, where Ngannou was looking like a world beater. He fights Stipe, and I think so many holes just got shown in his game, and he had to go back and develop. And I think Johnny Walker is. I think he'll finish Ankalaev, and also the Islam fight. I I think that I'm sad that this fight has to come on short notice
So you're
because
not gonna give my guy credit for winning?
oh, no. I'm gonna give him credit. I'm gonna give him credit.
Uh,
It's just that because I don't think it's fair to put Volk in a win-win situation and give no credit to Islam. You know, at the end of the day, those guys train hard. Khabib is I know Khabib's not letting Islam waste no time just because he was in camp for Oliveira and he already toasted him. They train hard no matter who the opponent is.
yeah.
So and even I think this turns it up a lot more mentally for Islam because it was a closer fight. The Charles fight was he outclassed him real quick, and now this fight against Volkanovski, and you see like them going back and forth. They're talking a little trash to each other,
Mhm.
and he's trying to say Volkanovski just here for a payday, and I think he could finish Volkanovski.
Yeah.
I think he could get him out of there in 3 rounds.
Yeah.
I think in 3 rounds he gets him out of there. Volkanovski isn't going to be on a full camp. Even on his, he posted a picture. I seen a picture on the ESPN MMA Instagram page, and he was
Mm.
flexing, and they're talking about how he was 181 when he got the day of the call, and it was a picture of him with the shirt off at the photo shoot, and I was like he's not in peak condition, you know,
Mm.
like he's not in peak condition. There's like it's not. This isn't the way, especially with how far they're going to they have to fly. There's a jujitsu guy named Craig Jones. He trains with Volkanovski. He's gonna be helping Volkanovski with his grappling. He's flying like how many hours to make it to Abu Dhabi for the fight.
Yeah.
And the situation is just not it's not ideal for Volkanovski. And although I think he's a really good fighter and perhaps just being so fresh, it it could work for him, but I think Islam is too skilled to just to just let the opportunity slip from him. You know, I think he's a hard worker and he's gonna go out there and prove something. You know, this is a smaller guy.
Mhm.
He knows he has the timing down, and he knows he's not like he knows that he's already been in there with him. You know, he doesn't have to question so much things. He can really go out there and execute his game plan a lot quicker, and I think you'll get him out of there in under 4 rounds.
Yeah, I feel like a guy like Islam, if he sees you once, he's definitely gonna make the adjustments. And he's definitely gonna like take advantage of everything that he messed up on the first time. Because he was taking a lot of shots. He was taking a lot of shots. He
Yeah,
was controlling the ground though. But I'm sure he doesn't want to be like if he looked at himself like after that fight, he doesn't want to see that again. Like he took a lot of shots, he had a lot of damage on himself. But at the end of the day, I always say it to be the champ, you have to beat the champ. And Volk didn't convincingly win more rounds. I did think it was a draw. I only watched the fight twice, but maybe If I watch it another time or another two times, I'll see that Islam won. But even
Mhm.
me viewing it as a draw, that doesn't mean Volk won. That means Islam
Yeah,
changed his belt. So yeah, you have to do more as the underdog, as a challenger. Hamza is at 185. Do you see him going back down ever to 170?
no, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it, and he's clearly way too big to be at 170. There's I think a lot of the oomph at 170 is kind of gone. There was like a time where like I'd
That
say
was the
like
hottest division.
yeah, there was a time that was a really hot division, and now um it's kind of seeing Usman lose,
Yeah,
Stephen Thompson's aged.
yeah.
Um
Woodley's out of the company.
yeah, Woodley's gone now. Who there's Colby Covington. Colby
That guy,
Covington's he's
that
been
guy
out for
fights
so
like
long.
once a year.
Yeah, he's been out for so long, and I don't. I think 170 is kind of just. I think he beats a lot of people at 170, and it's not worth cutting all that weight.
Yeah.
There's a lot more interesting fights at
And he's already
185.
and
The
he's
only
already
interesting
missed
fight,
weight before.
yeah, the only interesting fight at 170 for Hamza, in my opinion, right now would be Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Really.
Yeah,
I still think him and Edwards is a great fight because you remember they agreed to fight and then Hamzat's the one that dropped out. I actually think
yeah,
they agreed to fight twice and
yeah.
both
I
times
remember.
Hamzat.
Remember Hamza retired.
I don't remember that. Yeah, I think fighting Strickland is more like you have a better chance of winning than fighting Leon because Leon's very awkward. He has good leg kicks. He could strike. I think it's much more smarter for him to stay at 185 to get the belt that way.
Mhm. Oh, Strickland is just right now. He kind of looks like low key the most beatable champion. I don't think if if Izzy is the champ, I don't think Usman steps up to take this fight. You know, I think the reason he's doing this is because he sees an opportunity for him
Yeah,
to
his
beat
eyes his
Strickland.
eyes got wide. His eyes got big.
Yeah, I think his eyes got big.
All right. That's what we have today. Day Day, my Brody coming through, dropping another classic episode.
Yes,
Next,
sir.
we have UFC 295. That's less than a month. So we're about to be on in less than a month. We're gonna preview that. That's John Bones Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Any early words on that fight? You think this could possibly be
Uh
Jones's last fight for real, or you think he's capping?
it's his last fight, and I think Stipe by knockout. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah, yeah, right. Stipe is
Um,
never gonna recover from what Ngannou did.
I think this is John's last fight,
Hmm.
especially since Ngannou's gone. What's left for him? I
Yeah,
don't. I don't see him fighting Tom Aspinall,
no point.
and I think in his head, beating Stipe kind of caps it off. This is the goat of the division. You know what I mean? Stipe
Hmm.
is looked at as the greatest heavyweight of all time. Like I think it's between him, Cain Velasquez, DC, like that cloth of fighters. Even in Ghana, you could throw Ngannou in there too. And I think John Jones beating Stipe, that's gonna be his. I think that's gonna be his exit. And because seeing like John Jones looked unmotivated at his last few fights at 205, and I don't want to see that John Jones at heavyweight. You know,
Hmm.
I feel like I feel like John Jones robbed us of his prime. There's like so many years that John Jones didn't fight with all the PED stuff, everything just outside the cage. It robbed us of so many prime years of seeing him. And it messes with Daniel Cormier's legacy too.
Yeah, of course.
Because it messes with Cormier's legacy because you like two failed tests for one cancellation fight and then one got turned to a no contest. Then you're gone for how long? And I feel like we missed out on a lot of John Jones, and it's sad.
Yeah. No, that's big fact. Obviously, you know where I stand on this. I just wanted to see Ngannou and Jones, but Jones was on
Facts.
he was on his foolery, so you know how that goes. But again, y'all like, subscribe, comment. Always bring you the biggest episodes. Fight night. Let's enjoy this weekend. Again, my boy Dede, appreciate the man coming through, chatting it up.
Appreciate you for having me.
Yeah. And we out.